What's up? Now we are going to be going through two sheets. We'll be dealing with expansion revenue and professional services, which professional services I mentioned in the last video. Expansion revenue. Okay, you get customers. Maybe they convert from trial to paid. They start paying you money. They churn out, and you calculate how much money you have at the end of it. Now, the ideal scenario is that you make more money from your customers, because the best customer is just the one that keeps on paying. So you want to calculate how much money are you going to make in addition to what they are currently charging from your standard core pricing. Now, there's a couple of ways of actually doing this. And so I figured out two ways that most people might actually do it. And I modeled both of them, and you can pick which one you want. So the two that we'll be dealing with are module-based expansion and seat-based expansion. Now, what do those mean? Okay, modules, maybe you build new features that you can sell to people. So you have some, new API-based thingy, Bob, which, great, they'll pay you an extra $15 a month for, or something, yeah? And then you have seat-based, which is literally, they buy more user licenses. Now, so decide which one you're doing and makes most sense for you. You just pick them from the drop-down menu, module-based or seat-based. You can have different ones for Basic, Premium, Pro. So you can pick one for each one. And these just suck up which one you want, this one or this one. You see the link in between here. The same thing is done for annual. It's just done, it's the same number. It's just been done to make it a lot cleaner, so it filters through the model so you can kind of track what's going down. I typically try to spell everything out in models so that you don't have to spend ages trying to figure out what the hell is going on. So let's get into these so you can see how they work. Here are the outputs. So it's just how much extra you're going to make out of people per month. So you can pick whatever modules you're going to do and whatever, call it widget or API or whatever module you're going to build that people are going to buy from you. And then how much are they going to spend for it? And you can change these numbers over time if you want. So that's how much you're going to charge. And then you want to actually launch these products at some point. So maybe you're thinking about your product roadmap, when you're actually going to get these things out. So we'll do our little widget here in the 7th month, and this one like the 13th month, and the 15th, 17th month, whatever. So just type in 1. That's it, 1 in here, like 1. Yeah, and then the thing goes green, and you can see, when the schedule is. So you can delete all these, put them in whenever you want, if you want. Now, for this, not everyone is going to be upgrading, and we could get, a lot more granular and complicated about how we actually do this, but I think this is enough, right? So you can create avatars or buckets of your users on the Basic, Premium, Pro, and decide what do you think they'll be on average actually participating in doing this. So we'll just take a percentage of your user base and deciding how much they'll be spending in the expansion revenue. So this number will be a percentage of what you're charging. So you see it's $7 here because it's 15% of the $45. And we just lever this against your total customer base to figure out what the expansion revenue is in the complicated calculation sheets. Just so you understand what's happening. And so for the premium guys, the pro, maybe they are going to more likely spend more money. So $11 or $9 or, you were just multiplying the percentage of the people by the price that you're going to charge. And there you go. That's your expansion revenue calculated. I think that's fairly easy. Of course, they're just assumptions. You've got no idea. So just really think about how much expansion revenue do you want to have? And does that actually make sense? So just fiddle around a bit with it and just be able to figure out how to communicate that to your staff. And if you're fundraising, to investors. Now, seat-based expansion is a lot easier to understand. Your similar sort of premise, you're just saying, on average, how many additional seats are people going to want to buy? How many more user licenses? Is it 1? Is it 2? Is it 2,000? I don't know. How much do you charge per additional seat? So, maybe if your traditional license is just $25 for 3 users, you could say, well, I'll be charging $10 more. Or maybe you just say it's $25 for 1 license. If you want to have 5 licenses, it's 5 times 25. This is not very complicated, right? So how much are you charging per seat? And then sim logic, what percentage of these people will be taking up these licenses for those prices? And maybe it changes over time. So you just copy these little boxes to places if you want to fiddle around, or if you don't want any more, you can just drag the formulas across or copy the formulas across. It's pretty simple. They're just like equals the previous column, right? Then this just calculates what that number is by, multiplying 2 seats for $15 at 10%, 2 times 15, 30, 10% of 30 is 3. Boom. See the math? And then you can see what these look like over time. So you see the Pro, you start getting up to $140. Nice. Now let's deal with the professional services. So professional services, basically, you are, say, like Oracle, SAP, you've got maybe like enterprise implementation to be done. I mean, you can enterprise product. The implementation is not simple. You could go out to S&I guys and whatever, get them to do it. Or maybe you decide that you want to do it, which basically means hiring people and getting them to, help with implementation. So pretend you're like, you're offering enterprise e-commerce and applications for them. You would say, okay, guys, it's $100,000 a year for the license, and we charge $50,000 to set it up for you and get all the little fiddle around with the connections to the warehouse or, whatever it is. And so you're basically going to hire people, charge for something, but you're still going to have the cost base of those people to offer those services. And so you can actually make money on this. So I mentioned internal engineering in the support sheet. This professional services is different to the internal engineering, okay? Because you can actually make money of this, or you can offset the costs and maybe break even. It kind of just depends, right? So we're going to get our links to see, what the drivers are of this, and we'll see that we're making revenue, how many people that we need to have it, what the margin on services are. We'll see it's negative at the start, but then you start getting to about 28% margin, and how many customers are actually using this. Now, a rule of thumb, investors don't really want to see that professional services are more than 20% of your revenue. Why? Because professional services are not really scalable. And the great thing about SaaS is you build a product once and you sell it many, many times. Thank you very much, at ideally very low COGS rates or high contribution margins. So let me explain how this works. It is not complicated. And if you just followed the last expansion revenue sheet, a lot of the logic will apply. So what percentage of the new customers, right? Because it's going to be implementations, so it's not your total customer base, new customers, we'll see new annual customers, will be taking professional services. You could say, do you know what? We're actually not even going to do it at the start because we don't have the resources. And then we'll start doing it in the future. And then, increasingly more and more clients will take up on it. And so this will calculate, you see it's 000, how many people are actually going to be requesting the service, 10% of 7. I know it's not a round number, but deal with it. How much do you charge per project? $1,000, $4,000. And then there's your revenue, which is just what your charge is by the average number of people the approximate percentage of people that you'll be taking. I purposely don't do roundups because these are all just assumptions and forecasts of approximations, right? So if you really wanted to get particular about it, you could do a roundup, but I actually originally had it in my first model that there was roundups, but on balance, I kind of thought that it didn't make sense. So now we're going to calculate the costs. So same approach that we've been using before applies. How many minutes does it take to service people? How many hours a day do your professional services people work? And I'm pretty sure you can follow the rest of the math. So we need this much work done. We have this much capacity, so we need to hire people. We charge X, and that's your cost base. So you deduct that from your revenue, and you kind of figure out what your margin is. So we're spending, $6,000 here, but only taking about 5. So our negative margin is about 22.8%. But as we get better utilization of people, those numbers start getting better. So this stuff will then feed into your P&L. Professional services is one-off revenue. So there's not really any other dependencies. It just, scoots into your P&L. Your professional services staff will go into the staff sheet. See professional services staff linked to here, which goes to professional services. And there you go. You now have your professional services forecast, as well as your expansion revenue. Now, the next sheets, we're going to get into, some of the more complicated parts, looking at how you're doing the pricing, your conversion assumptions, and then a very brief overview into the calculations. So maybe you just want to have a little play with the model, or you want to stick with me and get ready for the next video.